Well, it's martini time. Beautiful day in Blackstone, the center of the world. But then you too are the center of the world. It's 50 degrees, sun shining, snow melting. But it just doesn't feel right having a martini with this daylight saving time. It's too light outside, but I don't care. I'll get used to it. So, last night we talked about turning the sock inside out. It's a metaphor. A couple of people commented on it. They thought it was better to turn their underwear inside out. When you have a metaphor, the metaphor is pointing to something. But because the modern mind has lost its ability to read metaphors, we look at the finger. So if I say turn the sock inside out, people look at the sock and say, well, why do you want to do that? The outside of the sock is the one that should be outside. The inside of the sock isn't as pretty. Why do you want to do that? They look at the finger instead of what it's pointing to. So let's look at another metaphor. Now, metaphors come to me creatively. I write during the day. This morning I was down at Facebook at 6 o'clock and I wrote until 12 o'clock. So I write a couple of pieces. It's on my blog, To Kill a Minotaur. You can catch up on my writing. I write the things I use. When I write something on Facebook, it's usually an interaction with somebody, so I get a number of posts, and then you put them all together, I've got a piece. So I put them on my blog as Zen Fits. And I also put my martini times on the blog. And I'm getting close to a year. I think 10 more martinis, and I'll have been doing this for a year. I'll have to count up and see how much gin I've drunk. I just have one. So, but there's 2 shots in there. The recipe for a martini is 2 shots of gin, quarter shot of vermouth. Okay? If it's just 1 shot, you'll just drink it in 1 gulp. Okay, so the metaphor I've been working with today is the park bench resolution. Now, the situation we're going to look at, so we're pulling the sock inside out, which means that, metaphorically, it means we're going to be interested in what the mind is doing instead of what the world is doing. The outside of the sock is the world. It's me in the world as a thing, as a person, with a history, with a story, with problems, with negativities. All this stuff I've got. I've got this stuff that hurts, and the world's doing it to me. That's the outside of the sock. Now, the inside of the sock is the turning. This is the spiritual turning. This is the turning of the spiritual path from being invested in the world, in what the world can offer you, the pleasures, the fame, the power, the glory of the world, to realizing that it all turns to dust. Vanity upon vanity. There's the realization in your life, usually in the second half of life, but it can happen any time, when you realize that the world is not going to save you or offer you anything except Groundhog Day. Remember the movie? That's what the world has to offer. It's called karma. You just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, hoping for a different result. And at some point, you come to realize that you're not getting a different result, and there is no exit. There is no savior. There is no magic button that will make you complete and that will resolve your dilemmas and your suffering. Buddhism is a turning point. Buddhism is Buddhism with jokes. So or plain yogurt instead of flavored yogurt, you know. It just gets down to this, you see. But the point is, it's a turning point. When the sock turns inside out. And your life changes. You're going in a different direction. So the metaphor I've been working with today is the park bench resolution. Now let's take a common situation. It'll be an analogy of the donut. So we all know the experience of wanting a donut and wanting not to have a donut. I shouldn't have a donut, but I want a donut. So I'm cool, and then I walk by a donut shop and I smell the donut. Up comes this desire for the donut. I want a donut. No, you shouldn't have it. I want a donut. I shouldn't have it. Oh, this is arm wrestling. You see. Half the mind wants a donut, the other half doesn't want. But both of them are in time. So you've got a situation here where the mind was at peace. You were just walking down the street, content, no problems, and suddenly, bam, I want a donut, I shouldn't have a donut. Who's going to win? Who's going to win, you see? So now, maybe the should not have one wins, and you go by. And then you're sitting down at the restaurant, and your friend across the thing has some donuts there. And she has a donut, and you just reach over and grab that sucker. You see, it was repressed, you see. It's like a waterbed bubble. Whoops. It's like a waterbed bubble. You sit on the bubble, it comes up behind you, but it's going to come up in your future and blindside you. And then there's guilt and the vow never to have a donut again. If you're fortunate to smoke, you can do this every day. You can do, I don't want to smoke, I want to smoke. I don't want, I want. Now you can play with that all day. You see. So the point is, now we're kind of looking at this as the way the mind operates. When the sock turns inside out, what you become interested in is how your mind operates. It's kind of like being interested in reading HTML on your computer. You want to know how the sucker operates. What's the code? What's the code, you see? If you don't know the code, and you don't have a blueprint of how the computer works, you're a victim of the computer. If you push the wrong button, you got to call Jesus, or the therapist, or the tech support. They're all saviors, just waiting for you to screw up so they can come in and rescue you. You know. I know in my own life with computers, since I've been working with them since 1987. I was always victim of the computer, calling up the tech support. And whenever I don't do that and I fix it myself, I feel really good. And I know that's a very common experience, when you feel good when you don't have to call somebody to help. You know, yeah, you did it yourself. You figured it out. So that's kind of like what this is about. We want to figure out what the mind is doing. Now, the metaphor we're working with here is the Teeter Totter. You all go to a playground and you see a Teeter Totter. And it goes like this, you see. All right. I want a donut. I don't want a donut. I shouldn't have a donut. I want a donut. I shouldn't have the donut. I want the donut. I shouldn't have the donut. Now, the mind divided against itself cannot remove the other half because it's its twin. It's like the mirror can't remove the reflection. And the reflection can't remove the mirror. They're different, but they can't be separated. So when the mind divides against itself, it divides because it has two contradictory commandments, or desires, or imperatives, or should. Two shoulds. Remember, this is in time. There's no desire in the present moment. When you adjust this, you're just walking in the park. There's no desire. There's actually not much you. Unless somebody calls and say, hey, you, who's bothering me? Suddenly you exist and you turn around. Who is that, you see? Now you're you and that's that. There's the division. But before that, I'm just sitting out here on the park bench, you see. I'm just sitting on the park bench watching the children play. I have no desires. I have no anxiety, no tension. It's like that old iced tea commercial. When you fall back into the iced tea, or when you get home, you see. And then pretty soon somebody's going, would you come and do this? Oh my God, you got to go to the store. What? Division, conflict. All right. So we're kind of like interested in that. I'm curious about that. How does it work, you see? So now the metaphor of the Teeter Totter is that, first of all, it is a division. There is one, and then it was divided into two, like the story of creation. There is one, has no second. Now it's two, right? And now the two want to restore and get back to the peace of the one. You see, two, conflict, I want to get the one, I want to get the one and be at peace. Where is that? It's in the future. You see, here I am just now, desire, donut, anxiety, conflict, do something, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. Two, me against myself. It's not against the world, it's against you. And now I've got to get bang, 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 defeat one or the other under the illusion that if I get rid of one half of my mind, I will arrive back at my original contentment. But this is in time. So the contentment is in the future. I got to get to it. How do I get to it? Oh, therapy, yoga, meditation, Buddhism, Jesus, whatever. I got to get to it, you see, because right now I'm tension. I got this tension between me, you see. And it could be against a donut, or it could be, what do you want to do with your life? My daddy wants me to do this, or my wife wants me to do that, and I want to do this, or security versus freedom, or infinite, fill in the blank, I don't care. But getting down to the equation, getting down to the bare system in the way the machine works, you see, the way the mind works is what we're interested in, not the content. We're interested in the operating system. Before you fill in the programs and the content of the computer, how does the thing work before you've put in Photoshop and Word and all that stuff, you see? What's the code that makes it work? What's the basic operational system? That's what we want to find out. Because if you figure that out, then no matter what you fill in, whether it's donuts or new car or job or I hate the boss or whatever the tension, that's content. You see, it's like the bad day cup. You see, there's a bend in the cup. There's a tension. There's a bend in the cup. So whatever I put in here is going to have a bend in it. And I'll struggle and beat myself to death trying to get rid of the bend in the content of my mind, but I never do because I'm not looking at the operating system of the mind. I'm not looking at the bend in the mind, which doesn't have any content, you see. It's what holds the content. And because I identify with the content, I'm trapped in the teeter-totter, to switch metaphors, you see? The teeter-totter is me against myself. It's not the world. You see, if I desire the donut, I don't desire the donut, I desire the idea of the donut. And what, just getting on that, just look at that. Next time you desire something, if you smoke, I don't care what it is. Or if it's a martini. So when you desire something, the pleasure is not in the object. That's why it's not lasting. Just to use the donut, you get the donut and there is oh God, it's so good. Now eat 10 of them. you see. You would think if the pleasure's in the donut, if I kept eating them, I would just get continuous pleasure. But it will quickly turn to pain or neutral, or most likely I'm sick of donuts. So what happens is that when I desire the donut, the desire is painful. It's a tension. The desire creates a tension in my mind. And so when I get the donut, there is a rush of release of the tension, which I perceive as the pleasure in the donut. The pleasure's not in the donut. Otherwise, everybody in the world would get pleasures from donut and would keep eating them because it would be absolutely in the donut. But it's not, you see. So everything's in the mind. But we project it out there and say, it's in there. It's in the, Jesus is in the statue, or the pleasure's in the donut, or my salvation's in this new job, or whatever, you see. And you get the job and you got more problems. So we don't understand how this works. So the only way to understand how it works is to find something where you're stuck. And it's a happy fault. If it's a donut or cigarettes, I don't care what it is, a conflict with the wife or the husband, whatever Groundhog Day you're experiencing, which means whatever karmic ritual you're caught in that you keep repeating but you can't get out of, no matter how hard you try, no matter how many vows you take, it still traps you back in it. Here I am again. Like a roller coaster ride you can't get off, you see. Welcome that. Say, here's my playground Teeter Totter, and I'm going to try sitting on the park bench. Now, if you look at a Teeter Totter and the kids playing, you got the mother on the park bench. Now, she's not on the Teeter Totter, and she doesn't care which kid wins. But she's intently watching them because she doesn't want the kid to fall off. Maybe she's got twins. And she doesn't want them to hurt themselves. So she's not daydreaming or playing solitaire or reading a book. She is aware without being invested in who wins the game. So it's that kind of awareness that is park bench resolution. And this is not easy. You can't just do it. You can't just suddenly play in the NFL. You can't just go, I think I'll go play in Carnegie Hall. And go play in Carnegie Hall. No, you have to practice. So this is basically it's a lifetime practice. I've been at it all my life. I'm 81. I'm still doing it. You never give up practice. The master never gives up practice. The piano, he's always practicing. The enlightened Buddha still meditates, still practices. So the practice then is having the intention to find a park bench so you can watch the play of your mind in this teeter-totter of thou shalt have it, thou shalt not have it. You see. And so when you shift, that's turning the sock inside out. When you shift and say, I just want to be curious about what my mind's doing. I just want to be aware of the play of my mind in this game of the teeter-totter. So the teeter-totter is a metaphor for any time you're caught in a dilemma, on the horns of dilemma between two desires which are contradictory. You can't have the donut and not have the donut at the same time. So we work it out. Well, I'll have a little bit now, or I'll just have it this one time, bargain, or I'll just have a substitute, a bargain, or, all kinds of strategies coming up. Or we give in, and then we have guilt, and then we vow to not to do it and all that. If whatever, So the strategies are there. So I'm curious about them too. I'm curious about the whole game, you see. But I can only be curious from the park bench where I'm not invested in who wins. The mirror or the reflection. Which one is going to win? You see? Neither can win. That's why it keeps continuing. That's why it keeps continuing. So we'll continue this as we go on. I feel like we're working on a little thread here, hopefully a continuing exploration of what it's like inside the sock. What it's like to turn the sock inside out. Thanks for dropping in.